Conduit for the Wii. The back of the cover promises that this is the most fluid and intuitive shooter on the Wii. Having not played its competition, I obviously can't vouch for that for sure, but I believe it to be true. The controls all make sense, and you learn them within a couple of seconds of picking up the Wiimote nunchuck. You aim using the nunchuck, and it also controls your camera. If you point towards any of the edges of the screen, you will turn in that direction. Though, do note, you can't turn particularly far upwards or downwards. So it's maybe not completely a 360-degree camera, maybe more like a 130, 250, somewhere around there. The only other game I've played where the camera works in quite that manner is Splinter Cell Double Agent, and in both cases, I personally think it works immensely well. You pick it up, takes maybe a few seconds to get used to, and then it just works. In this one you can even adjust the settings in the menu. I mean, until I played Double Agent, I would not have believed that you could have comfortable control of that free a camera on a console, and both of these prove that you very much can. I will say it takes a very steady hand to properly aim, especially when you're firing over long distances, but it is far superior to anything I've tried on any other console, with a first-person, supposedly 360-degree camera, I mean. And my experience in that ranges right from a Nintendo 64, one of those James Bond games, to an Xbox or an Xbox 360. I don't know the exact one. It was at a friend's house and I didn't ask for specifics. You can do what you expect to be able to do in a first-person shooter: duck, strafe, jump, throw grenades. There are 3 types of grenades: frag, radiation, and flashbang. And you throw by moving the nunchuck forward in, kind of a throwing motion. It feels extremely natural, though you will want to keep your hand very steady, or else you might accidentally throw at an inappropriate time. You also get a melee attack, and you can use this whenever you want, even if you don't have a gun in your hand, even if you're reloading, though you will have to restart reloading after you do the melee attack. And you use this attack by moving the Wiimote forward, as if you're doing a right-hand punch. Again, feels immensely natural. Most sources say 18, though I've only been able to find 16. And they're reasonably varied as far as effective range, rate of fire, damage done, what type of projectile, so on and so forth goes. Now you can only carry 2 at a time, so you have to choose which ones you're gonna... I suppose this is as good a time as any to say I haven't actually tried the multiplayer, but it sounds awesome. I honestly don't even know if my Wi-Fi connection works. People say that it's one of the best multiplayer online experiences on the Wii. Now the version I got is the Special Edition, which comes with this, a hints and tips guide, and some concept art also. And there's apparently also some unlockable skins and such. Having not tried the regular edition, I can't say if this is, worth the extra money that it might cost. And add to that this is one of the only hints and tips guides that I have for any game, so I can't particularly comment on that. But as far as hints and tips go, it seems like relatively basic stuff, things you should already know if you've played first-person shooters before. But other than that, it does go over some of the concepts. The game is relatively similar to Half-Life, albeit nowhere near as new and fresh. You've got aliens of various sizes, both small and the size of humans, and bigger still. You're fighting both them and human beings, and the weapons range from what, the military has today through futuristic stuff and to, weapons from the alien race. There's even at least one hand puppet one, and honestly, once Agent Ford, who you play as, is done saving the world, I sure hope that he doesn't take up a job as a proctologist, because, I'm sorry, it sounds like that thing is in pain when he puts it on his hand. I don't know, I guess he just really wants to punish every single living alien being out there. The overall plot is more or less Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but it does work pretty well, and honestly, I can't particularly think of another game that has that plot. I mean, throughout the game, you genuinely do feel like, the US is being invaded. You get to run through the streets of Washington, and there are some ruins of buildings, and you get to go into the White House and the Pentagon, too. The story is quite predictable, although I will say I did not see the last two twists coming, and those were pretty good. Especially the second to last one. That was really cool. The plot is essentially told through these briefing sequences where Ford and whoever is giving him orders at the time are talking, and the exposition isn't too obvious, and I will say the story felt engaging throughout. Basically, you're a Secret Service agent, you recently saved the president's life, and you're essentially the only hope of stopping this alien invasion. The story is also quite cliched. The AI is good, although the enemies do have a bit of a tendency to sometimes forget to shoot at you, and they'll either be standing perfectly still or they'll walk right past you. I don't know. The voice acting is great. This has Kevin Sorbo of Hercules fame as a hacker, then there's the leader of a shadowy government agency, and then there's you. That's basically the three characters there are, and none of them are terribly developed. They basically have one character trait, and that's about it. Now, from IMDb, I'm not entirely certain, but they appear to be father and son, the son being the guy you play as, and yeah. And it certainly is cool to hear Hercules talk to you. This is like one of the only 2 video game voices he's done. The game is very short. There are 9 levels, and not a single one of them take more than an hour. The first and the last take maybe half of one. I mean, the game recorded my completion time, and it came out to 4 hours and 33 minutes. Now, there are some unlockables to keep you coming back, but I'd still say maybe consider just a rental. The gameplay is fun, if relatively limited, apart from the straightforward FPS, shoot what moves, and if you see something red, shoot that too. It has this floating metal futuristic ball that you can use to hack and to solve some puzzles and such, called the All-Seeing Eye. Now, this is a cool enough concept, although it is terribly underused, as it basically amounts to you just having to bring it out now and then and hold down the B button whilst not walking too far away from what I do kind of like the puzzle thing for opening hidden doors wherein there almost always is a gun. And not just any gun, like a really, really powerful one. Basically, the puzzle, you have to form one of these and, turn each ring, and as you go, these get more and more difficult because when you turn one ring, others will also turn, and you have to align them all. One feature that definitely deserves mentioning is the target lock. Not only does it allow you to track one specific enemy, it also gives you a health bar for that enemy, and this includes the bosses. One suggestion though for the sequel, which the ending desperately craves for, and that has very recently been announced, I believe 2 days ago, maybe make it so that it can go back and forth between the tough enemies and the ones that are just kind of bothering you, the small ones, the flying ones, that sort of thing. The level design isn't bad, but there are a lot of areas that look very much alike, to the point where if you get stuck in this game, it's probably because you got lost, because you can't tell the room you're in now apart from the one you were just in, half a minute ago. And also, in spite of the settings, which are definitely cool, this really doesn't have any areas that just really stay with you and tell your friends who haven't played the game about, stuff like that. There's a little ego and, showing of muscles and such in the conversations, and in spite of it not being terribly much, it can still be a little annoying. Perhaps because there is so little emotional anything in these conversations. The game is fun enough, but it really doesn't do enough to stand out, and it terribly overhypes itself in a handful of places. The graphics definitely deserve mention. They're fantastic. This is probably the best looking Wii game I've tried, or heard of for that matter. Honestly, if it doesn't entirely match what the Xbox and PS3 can do, it comes extremely close. The lighting, reflections, effects, everything looks really, really good. And not just for the Wii.